Hey y'all, welcome to the Road to Cowgirls at the Cowboy, where I'm taking you behind the scenes with me as I saddle up with the ladies of Cowgirls at the Cowboy, the nation's first and only 3-night all-female country music festival at Jackson Hole's iconic Million Dollar Cowboy Bar. I'm your host, Jenny Tolman. I'm a country music artist, songwriter, and the host and curator of Cowgirls at the Cowboy. And I'm so happy that you're here. Y'all, I'm so excited. Our guest on the podcast today is the incredible singer-songwriter, two-time ACM winner, Tenille Townes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Glad to get to hang with you today.
Oh my gosh, we can't wait to have you in Jackson Hole. Have you ever been?
First time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I've heard about how magical it is. It looks just like a movie everywhere, and I've really heard a lot about what you guys have created, and I'm really looking forward to coming and checking it out.
Thank you. Yeah, it's insane. I tell everyone it's like a Hallmark movie town.
Nice.
My husband
That's
and I got
awesome.
married there because we loved it so much.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
well, thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh,
it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, so you're playing on our first night.
Yes.
Which is our songwriter night, and so it's gonna be Lori McKenna,
my hero,
and myself, and you. And I was gonna ask you, the first time I ever heard your music, I was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me so much of Lori McKenna. Is she one of your
that's so
inspos?
Cool. She really is. She's definitely my songwriting hero. And when I made the 47-hour drive to move to Nashville, and
47 hours.
My dad helped me make the trek, and so we loaded up my little Tacoma, and I'd made a few trips back and forth for a few years, and then once I graduated high school, I was like, okay, I'm getting to Nashville. I gotta get here. And so we made the trip, and my dad set me up in this little rental kind of garage lift. I was staying in Berry Hill, and we went grocery shopping, and we visited some guitar shops, and we flukily got into a Bluebird round the night that I arrived.
Wow. Yeah, that's hard to do.
Yeah, which was very hard to do, and was so cool. And Lori McKenna was in this round.
No way.
And I had kind of heard some of her songs, but I'd never watched her play and I was just completely enamored.
Yeah.
I sat in the chair, and I had the perfect view of. I'd also never seen anyone play in an open tuning, so I completely stole the way that I play from that night watching Lori McKenna play. And I was like, what are these chords? I don't understand how these work. And then I went home and played for hours, and I obsessed over every one of the records. She's got so many incredible cuts that people have written, that people have recorded that she's written, but I really am a big fan of her records, top to bottom.
Yes.
So. But yeah, I'm a huge fan. I've gotten to know her, and so grateful and glad to call her a friend and to written with her, and she's just really everything. It's one thing to meet your hero, and you're kind of what's this gonna be like, And she's just surpassed everything.
She is. Yeah, I'm she is the epitome of humble and kind.
Yeah, so true.
The song
very well,
is her.
Very well said. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's so perfect. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that's the perfect coming to Nashville story, and now playing together in Jackson. Okay, that makes me very happy.
It's gonna be super fun.
Good curating.
So, yeah, nicely done. Nicely done.
So you are from Canada.
I am. Yeah.
Tell me about growing up in Canada and how you got into music and how that led you to coming to Nashville. I know you said after high school, but walk me through what that looked like growing up getting into music.
I grew up in northern Alberta, so it's kind of a lot of wide open spaces, and the town I was raised in is called Grand Prairie, and it's a lot of prairies, so it's just big sky and kind of room to imagine doing anything you want to do. And I grew up surrounded by a community of people who very much believed in lifting each other up and just digging in and working hard and doing whatever you got to do to kind of make things happen. And so that's just kind of what I knew. And I loved music. I sang along in the backseat of the car as a kid to whatever the driver was playing and just soaking it all in. And my grandparents got me my first guitar when I was 14. I started writing songs and pairing it with pages in my journals, and really falling in love with the songwriting process. And from there I was like, okay, I want to do this. And all the lyric booklets were talked about Nashville and all the studios and the songwriters, and I was just always kind of gravitated to going, I think I can get things started and dig in the Canadian scene and learn, and I really hope to kind of get to come here too. So it's been a really fun journey. But yeah, I started I convinced my parents I wasn't going to college by putting together this school tour where we drove in a motorhome across Canada for 32 weeks. And we just like played, a couple schools a day, 5 days a week. And it was just kind of like, it was my way of proving that I really wanted to do it, and that I loved the road, and that I didn't really have any. I had a couple independent songs out, but I hadn't released any music yet, and had no idea what I was doing. But I was just like learning, and really fell in love with what it's like to be on the road. So once that tour was like, my dad's a big 10,000 hours like Outliers guy. And so Malcolm Gladwell, so I used that in my pitch. I was like, so I'm not going to college. I'm going to hit the road.
Smart girl.
And it turned out good. So it was a really fun tour. And then after that, we made the trip here to Nashville. So that's kind of my Canada story.
That's incredible. When you're talking about Alberta and prairie, I think of, do you know Corb Lund?
Yes.
Corb's a really good friend of mine.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he's like one of my favorite songwriters of all time. And so when I hear you talking about like the Wide Open Skies, because he's such a like brilliant like cowboy lyricist.
He really is.
And so
his voice is so just like, it feels like from another time in the best way.
And as soon as you hear it, you know who it is.
Yes.
I love voices like that.
I know, I love that too.
And you have one of those voices.
Thank you. Yes. That's so kind. Appreciate you.
But when you're talking about that, it like resonates with me knowing your music. I'm like, okay, that's definitely ingrained into your soul, because you have that like beautiful songwriting ability that is unlike anything you hear in people who aren't from that area. It's like in your guys' bloodstream. So I love that. But
thank you. Where are you from originally?
I'm actually from here.
No way.
I was born and raised in Nashville.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I have a really bad joke. I'm like, when people ask me where I'm from, I'm like, yeah, I was actually born down the road at Centennial. I haven't made it that far.
Good Lord. That's really awesome though. I think it's such a unique perspective in the music community for people who like grew up completely entrenched in it the whole time. That's really cool.
It is. It's a huge blessing. It's a blessing and a curse.
I'm sure.
But
I totally get that.
All of us have those.
That's right.
But back to, okay, you talk your parents into letting you come to Nashville. Were they musical at all? Or are you like the anomaly?
I'm the weird one. Yeah, for sure. I was like the really sensitive kid who was just like, I think needed music to be able to like, I don't know, find more of my voice in a. I have an awesome family, but it's a lot of big personalities and a lot of like they have a lot of fun. So I think music was kind of like my quiet, introverted, like safe place growing up. But my family all loves music. They're big fans. There's always music playing and lots of like variety of music taste. My papa is what I call my grandpa, but he had like a couple guitars in a closet somewhere. Like he used to play when he was younger. And so when I started singing, I think my first gig I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10, and I sang the anthem at all our local hockey games and started just like playing locally in my hometown. And so he was like, I got a guitar with some books and you should check this out. And it was like this massive guitar, this big dreadnought, and I was such a shrimp. And so they got me like a little Luther, like smaller one for my birthday. And my family loves music, but other than him kind of like just jamming every now and then, it was like, you want to do what? They were like, well, just sing then. And I was like, we need to find lessons. And I did like local theater stuff and weddings, whatever I could to just like play music. I always just loved it.
That's so cool. That's really special to have that. The family support is huge.
Yes. Yeah, they've always been big cheerleaders for sure.
Good. How old were you when you got to Nashville?
So I came for the first time when I was 14. Okay. And my mom brought me, we did all the Bluebird and the Opry and just kind of like took it all and drove up and down Music Row a million times looking at, just taking it in. And then I came and like stayed, I think I was 19 when I did the drive to move.
Nice. And 47 hours. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The long road trip, but very worth it.
Yeah. Once you got here, what was that journey like? Was it like overwhelming? Was it exciting? Because how long once you were in town before you got your record deal? It seems like it wasn't a huge amount of time.
That's true. So I'd kind of been coming back and forth, but when I had officially moved, I think it was like 4 or 5 years into my time, getting 4 years, I guess. But So when I got here, I was just sort of like, I had met a handful of people on writing trips that I'd been making for like the past like 6 years, but was just like, okay, how does one do this? Like, how do you get serious about it? So I just like asked songwriter friends to go for coffee and be like, what do I do? And they're like, okay, we'll talk to someone at your PRO. And I'm like, what's a PRO? And like, it's like, okay. And like, just like meeting one person would introduce me to the next. And I just ended up getting to like keep writing in more and more and more rooms. And I'd go and watch tons of rounds, and then I'd come home and like write songs all night because I just was like fired up about it all. So I was definitely overwhelmed, definitely homesick, and definitely like, I feel like I went through quite a change. Like that was my first time ever living by myself too, and just kind of like I lost myself, and also feel like I sound so different like post, like it was such a monumental like couple of months where when I first got here it was like I just sort of got rid of everything I thought I was supposed to be and started digging into like what I actually sounded like, and what my voice physically changed at that spot in my life. So but yeah, it was a lot of just knocking on doors and being like, please listen to my songs, and then I'm gonna come back in a month and you can listen to it again. You're gonna listen to it until people were like, all right, I think I believe in what you're doing. So yeah,
I think there's a Reba story like that. I forget where it was, but she like literally sat there all day and waited until like 6 p.m. and someone finally came out. Awesome. And she was like, you're going to listen to me.
You will listen to these songs. Yeah, there's you have to have a certain, I don't know if it's like insanity or tenacity or what it is, but you really got to have above. That. Yeah, absolutely.
We're all crazy.
Yeah, I think so.
And I feel like also, I want to get into your writing. We all start writing to heal something. You know, we all like have something that we need to work through, whether it's through like a crying song or a funny song or something like that to heal us. And you and your writing is extremely empathetic. Like everything I hear from you, I'm like, she cares so much about other people.
Thanks for that.
And it just shines through. And so there's something really unique about you that I love, that you have your own fundraising concert that you do every year for your hometown's local youth shelter.
Yeah.
Called Big Hearts for Big Kids.
Look at you go, yeah.
And you have raised over $2 million.
Yeah.
So, like, that's crazy. That's a huge number. Where did the inspiration for you to even get into that come from?
Honestly, I think my mom had come home with this pamphlet of information on what was called the Sunrise House, and it was just sitting on our counter from a ladies' night that she had, and I read it the morning before school, and I was just like, wait a second. Like, I had no idea that my hometown has, like, 50,000 people or something. And it's like the fact that there are kids my age at that time in my own hometown who were, like, didn't have a safe place to sleep at night. Like, I'd never really thought about that before. I think I was just about 15. And I was like, we got to do something. So it started, like, this idea just to go, how can we help or like be a part of this? And so we were going to throw a backyard party at my parents' house, and then that kind of grew, and we figured we better rent a hall. So we did that. And after school, my mom would like take me around to local businesses, and I just had a letter and invited people to come and be a part of it. And and it was crazy how many people said yes. They were like, yeah, here's an auction item, or we'll get a table. And all of a sudden we had people coming. And the night of our first event, the shelter director came to me and like was really teary and telling me that they had to close the doors because they were like completely out of funding.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, so I understand if you want to put your efforts somewhere else, but like we're temporary closed down. And I was like, oh no, I think this is exactly how this is supposed to be.
Even more reason.
Yeah. And that night we raised $30,000, and I was just like looked around the room going, if this is what music can do, like I'm in. This is so cool. So we just kept it going. I thought maybe we'd do 3 years to get the shelter back up and running. And after the third event, everyone was like, so when's next year's? And I'm like, okay, I guess we'll just keep this party going. So it's been like 15 years of it. And
that's incredible.
It's pretty wild. So yeah, it's definitely surpassed any, wild little seed of a dream I had at that age to just try to like help out the local youth shelter in my hometown. And it's really shown me the power of what can happen when a small group of people like believe in the same thing, and that's a pretty cool thing to witness. So that's been one of my favorite things to be a part of, for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love that you mentioned it shows you the power of what music can do. Do you find that you take a lot of inspiration from people like that, like stories, people that you hear, because like I said, with the empathy that I hear in your music, it seems like you must absorb so much from other people and take that and try to process it for them almost, or is there a lot of yourself in that too?
I think that you get a little bit of it because it just sort of passes through and it's my perspective on it or something. And honestly, it's kind of like this thing where I kind of avoid my own emotions in a lot of ways by like telling other stories, and so I'm kind of working on my balance of that in my writing process. But in general, I've definitely always been like a curious person, or like or just like, I don't know, very much like always have felt inspired by other people's strength in moments where you're like, how can you get through this? Like that's always been something like I've been drawn to. And so I on one of the school tour trips before I'd moved to Nashville, I met this group of people that then brought me back a couple years later to this island in Grand Manan, New Brunswick, and so I fly. It's like planes, trains, automobiles, and ferry to get to from here. And I like show up at this little island, and I'm playing for the school, and I was just like, this community is amazing. Like I could just tell the way everybody had each other's backs. And then the teacher, Miss Ward, like pulled me aside afterwards and told me that there had been a car accident there a few months prior, and that one of the kids in the school was like, she was the valedictorian, a star basketball player, and she was taken in this fluke wreck. And I just like sat there and wept with this teacher. The 4 other kids in the car I had been hanging out with all day at the school, and like had no idea they'd just been through this a few months before. And so I was just like so moved by this town and everything they'd been through, and stayed in touch with them. And I got to fly back the following spring and like surprise them for their high school graduation. And I'm sitting in the gym, and like the whole town's piled in, and Danielle's parents get on stage and they give their honorarium scholarship to Zoe, who's one of her best friends a year younger, and who was also in the car, and like just not a dry eye in the place. And they had her jersey hanging on the wall in memory. And I just kind of looked at it thinking about the questions I have for God, and how I think it's okay to have those, and that there's healing like just in the conversation itself. And after that, one of my best friends at home lost her little brother, and I was just kind of spinning in more and more of those questions, and sat down and wrote about it. It's like that's my way of somehow finding understanding or processing how I feel about something. And it's completely an observer perspective. I'm not, it wasn't my experience necessarily, but it was something that like got caught up and stuck inside me on its way out. And I think writing has definitely been medicine for me in processing the big questions that I have, or why do things like that happen? And it's been like so overwhelming to me to witness people's courage, like that have heard that song and will send me a message on Instagram or come up to me after a show and like tell me about someone in their life that they miss. It's like, my gosh, it's so hard to talk about those things. It's such a difficult human thing, and it's like my greatest honor to be able to like listen and hopefully that song has like brought some piece of comfort or something in knowing we've all felt that way one way or another. So to me, that's like what I love about writing music, and it's just songs in general. I hope I'm not blabbering on and on here.
No,
sorry.
not at all. I love all of that. Okay, it's so good. Beautiful. And Jersey on the Wall is the song we're talking about. For anyone listening who hasn't heard this song, it's a beautiful song. Because I actually, one of my best friends, her older brother passed in a car accident. And so that song has always, like, whenever I hear that, I always think about him. And it definitely has reached far and wide all over the world. So thank you for writing that.
Thanks for saying that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I mean, the talent that you have speaks for itself, but you have gotten noticed by some very, very big organizations. I want to talk about your not one but 2 ACM awards.
That's pretty wild.
One of which you were the new female vocalist of the year that Keith Urban presented you with.
Never forget that. Ever.
Tell me about that moment.
Well, that was a crazy time. So we'd like put out the record. We've been touring nonstop, and then 2020 happens, and we're at home for the pandemic, and so we were doing all this like kind of leading up to the record promo on Zoom. And so I was told it was a radio interview that was on Zoom, and I was like, okay, ready to go. So we got the Zoom set up, with all the new ring lights and things we're learning, and I turn on the Zoom camera and it's Keith Urban, and he just goes, boo.
Oh my gosh.
I think he said boom, but in his Australian accent, I heard boo, and I scare easily anyways, and I was just like, what is Keith Urban doing on this screen? Oh, it was the best. It was so fun. I was such a huge fan of his, so I could barely just keep it together on the, like, what couldn't really process what he was telling me, but that just meant so much to feel like this community that I feel really proud and grateful to be a part of. It's like somebody's got a table set and they just like pulled up a chair in that moment for me, and I really appreciated that. So that was a really bright spot in a really weird time in the world to get to celebrate that. And then the other ACM was for singing on a song on with Miranda Lambert and all the girls that she brought out on her tour that year. So that was really special to get to celebrate that too.
That's awesome. So you were actually on tour with Miranda, right?
She's the first person who ever brought me out. And
really?
Yeah. So before, I guess that would have been 2018 on the Bandwagon tour with Little Big Town. And, but yeah, I had put out Living Room Work Tapes, like the first EP, and then she invited me to come out on this. And the night of the very first tour was the first time I ever played an amphitheater, first day of radio tour, and first time ever sleeping on a bus, because she put me up on one of her production buses, which was so kind, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is everything I've ever dreamed of. It was so fun. So she's taken the best care of me on the road. We've gotten to tour with her a couple times, and her whole team has just been really incredible to us.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So touring wise, I want to talk about too. So you seem like you love touring.
I do.
Is that,
I love the motion. I love being on the road. That's what I don't think I thought I'd always like love it, and then once I started experiencing it, I was like, oh, I didn't realize how much I would really love this. It
is. It's so special, and like getting to meet everyone, seeing people in person, there's nothing to replace it.
It's such a live music is such a sacred thing. It's kind of like, I don't know, I like to picture everybody's got their own movie in their head that they're imagining, but like the feeling is like this common thread that's the same. And
I love that.
I just think we're all so connected in those moments, and it's so fun to be up there just stomping around and feeling, I don't know, my head's the quietest when I'm up there. It's like I feel like the most fierce version of myself or something. And
it's so true. I feel like for artists, because when I was growing up, I had like terrible anxiety. Like I could not sit in a classroom. I even ended up like dropping out of school and just doing homeschool because I couldn't talk to people. But if I was on stage, it was like totally fine. So I was like the opposite of a normal person, which we all are.
Amen. I'm with you. I feel that. It's true. It's like something happens where you just step into this other part of yourself, and it feels really good. And it's so special to get to feel connected to people in a room like that. So I love the road, and I love just traveling and the motion, and kind of like I love how that all feels for sure.
And you're going on your own headline tour starting really soon, right?
Yes,
October?
Coming up this fall,
So the Thing That Brought Me Here tour.
That's right.
And it's all throughout Canada.
It is. We're going back to the homeland. So we're going.
So that seems like it was obviously an intentional move to just do all Canada. Is it kind of like a thank you to...
In some ways, and we've had the really fun times doing that kind of circuit on a headlining tour. In the past like couple of years, it's been so fun. We've made a deal with everyone in these places, like if you keep coming back, I'll keep coming back. So we're just gonna keep coming back. So we're doing a few new places this year. We're going like really far out on the East Coast, which I've never done headlining shows out there before, so looking forward to that. And we're playing the arena in my hometown on this run, so that's gonna be really fun this year too. So
it's gonna be amazing.
We did some like US club shows this spring, and really enjoyed that, and we were like, okay, let's focus the fall to go back to the homeland. So
that's awesome. Oh, I can't wait to see pictures and videos, all the recaps. That's gonna be awesome.
Thanks.
So another Canadian female that we all love in country music is Shania Twain.
Big time.
And you have the coolest story. So I don't want to like say the whole story, so if you want to tell the story, go right ahead. From when you were a little girl.
Yes, I'm like big time Shania fan. Always have been. She's just like, she's my hero. And it was like, if she can do it, I feel like I could figure out a way to do it too. That's always how I felt, especially with her being from Canada. And so she was coming through on her up tour, and I got tickets for Christmas, which I was just so pumped about. And I'd been looking forward to it for months and months and months. And I I made a sign that said, Shania, can I please sing with you? And then we were about to go to the concert, which was a 5-hour drive from Grand Prairie, and I said to my mom, I was like, you got my costume, right? And she's like, oh, I haven't had time, whatever. And I was like, okay. She's like, oh, I'll do it real quick. So she plugged the glue gun in, and she made, like, put my black pants had, like, yellow stripes down them. And, like, the 3 stripes, like her Miami concert DVD outfit I'd watched a million times. It had the yellow ponytail, and it dried on, like, the dash of the car on our 5-hour drive to the concert.
Amazing.
It was pretty awesome. Go mom. Yeah. Really fun. And so I showed up. I'm just having the best time of my life, like singing to all my favorite songs. And it was a total fluke, but somehow she started walking. She had like a circle stage in the middle, and she walked towards me, and a couple seats down there was another young girl, and she like had her sing a couple lines and like leaned the mic over, and I thought, oh my gosh, like I think she's about to do that to me. She's like walking towards me, and I was like, oh my gosh, she might let me sing a line too. Like I was so excited. And she didn't reach the microphone, she like reached her hand, and I was like, what is happening? And so I threw the sign, and I like jumped up with her, and I ran around the stage with her. The rest is kind of a blur. I remember like the checker plate flooring, it was like silver, and I was just looking at her feet and my feet, and I was like, I think this is real, like I think I'm here. And then we ended the song, and she had like 3 tiers to the stage, and so we're on the top tier, and like I'm just looking out, and I couldn't see anybody because like I'd never experienced that before, but it was like the lights, it was like this curtain where you couldn't see past it, and I was just looking out like, am I awake, you know? And like, so so she had me like she's like, sing something for me. So I sang a chorus of Honey, I'm Home, and the whole place is screaming. And then she's like, all right, I'll bring you back to your mom now. And I was like, okay. And so I walked back, and I was just like, that was it for me. That like lit this fire that was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And now it's my dream to be able to keep paying that forward and like lighten up all the next little dreamers down the road, because that totally is something I will carry with me every day of my life. So and then we had a really crazy full circle last year, because we got invited to go open for her on her tour, and we played a handful of cities on that run, and one of them was Edmonton, almost 20 years to the day that moment had happened. And so she brought me back out on stage with her, and we sang again, and like that's like, you can't even make that stuff up. That was so wild. So wild. She was really incredibly kind and told the whole story, and it was very cool full circle to get to do that. Yeah. Oh my
gosh. What better like confirmation that it's like you are where you need to be. Right. You're doing exactly what you're meant to do.
Thank you for that. It's like, okay, these feel like nods from somewhere else or something, and I'm just like, right. Yeah. I'm so glad music's found us. It's like, that feeling where it's just like, yep, this is what I'm supposed to do. It feels good.
Yeah. Exactly. And, being where you're meant to be, I wanted to ask you about, it was just recently announced that you left your label after 7 years, I think. So, walk me through that decision and how you're feeling.
Oh, it's definitely all new. I'm just kind of like, what is happening? And I feel all the feelings. I've been on lots of roller coasters about that. But we had such a good run, and I'm super grateful to the entire team. They have such great people over there that I've gotten to work with through the years, and it was a really good run. It just... something wasn't really making sense anymore, like sort of waiting in that, getting stuck in that system of, I totally understand the reasons that a big corporation like that has to operate in those ways, but it's like so much is moving faster now, and I really want the freedom to be able to just like write a song I love, record it, and just get it out without having to wait as much, and without it sort of being confined in that sort of a box. And so it really does feel like freedom to be like, okay, like now I can kind of do whatever I want, and I'm really excited by that. So it's like a whole new chapter, and it's full of a lot of fear, lots of doubts about it, and being like, oh no, what's gonna happen next? But I'm doing it anyway, so it feels good.
No, it's incredibly brave, and also exciting, like you said. I've heard, a little birdie told me that we might be getting some new music in the fall, so I'm very excited to hear what Free Tenille sounds like.
Thank you. It feels good. So I'm looking forward to sharing that too, and it's going to be a good chapter moving forward. I'm so thankful for all the people I've gotten to meet on the road, and the people that out there that have like listened to this music and literally given my idea of what I want to do with my life the ability to actually happen. And And it's kind of cool to be like, it's just sort of us in this partnership now. It's like, we're in this together, and that feels really good.
Yeah, it's as authentic as it possibly can be.
I think so.
That's very exciting.
Yes.
Well, we're all very excited to have you in Jackson Hole, and I'm very grateful that you came on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. It's so lovely to get to chat with you. We have a little
something for you to say thank you.
Thank you for that. That's sweet. Yes, I'm so excited for this trip. You're gonna have to
it's gonna be so fun. Did you know the CMT is coming out? And
that's awesome.
And they filmed the festival for Hot 20, and so all the girls do little excursions. I did my episode in Hot Air Balloon last year.
No way.
Or my interview, not episode.
You're gonna have to tell me the fun things. I've never been before, so you'll have to tell me all your favorite stuff to do.
Yes, we'll do
I'm staying. I'm hanging. I'm there to take it all in.
Good.
Staying a couple extra days. So I'm excited.
Perfect. Yeah, it really is you're never gonna want to leave.
I'm sure. That sounds awesome. Well, I really appreciate you having me, and what a cool thing. It's a bunch of awesome women that are lifting up music, and that's really cool. So thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing your talent with us and your heart, your songwriting, everything. So we will see you in a few weeks. It's coming up.
It's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to being on that round with you. That's gonna be a joy.
It's always my favorite night, honestly. Because you're getting to it's my favorite, and also my most terrifying, because I'm playing with you guys, and I'm like,
oh, I can't wait. I'm so glad.
These ladies are insanely talented.
As are
you.
As are you. I'm so excited to get to jam with you. It's going to be fun.
Thanks. All right. Well, y'all be sure to check out Tenille Townes. And if you're in Canada, go see her on her new tour coming up. And we will see y'all soon. Thank you so much, Tenille.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank y'all so much for listening. Tickets are now on sale for Cowgirls at the Cowboy. I hope to see you there. Visit milliondollarcowboybar.com for more info.